Okay, y'all, we're back with part 2 of our conversation with Michael and Larissa. And quick recap of where we ended things in part 1. We were discussing erotic power and how important it is for it to come up through the heart chakra. We talked about Kundalini energy, and Larissa told us a story about seeing the energy of a very large snake representing this energy during her somatica training. And side note to the side note, a reminder for anyone listening that doesn't remember, somatic is another term for anything felt through or relating to the body. We get into more of what somatica is in this next episode and so much more. And truly, as I was editing this, I was reminded of how incredible this conversation was and how much there is to take away from it. So I hope you enjoy. I know we did.
Disco, the podcast.
Disco, the podcast.
All right. Well, I want to get into shadows.
Yeah, I wanted to say one more thing about erotic energy.
Yes. And are we recording right now?
No, I will.
Yes, we are. We never,
No, it has been. It has been.
That's right. We never stopped. That's great. Yes, please.
Yeah, I just
Michael.
wanted to say something to button that up, which is that Larissa's sharing this snake story about seeing the snake eating people. Last year, so I won't get into the whole long details of it, but I started having a Kundalini experience very strongly about this time last year. That's still going. That's like still opening. And it's more and more and more energy opens in my body the more it's cultivating. And I've gotten to this point where I'm like, oh, this is the core of energetic power in the body, like comes from this.
Yep.
And there was a moment where I was doing this cultivation that I've been talking about, and I was going into the energy of it. And I took a hit of a DMT pen right when the energy peaked. And there was this explosion feeling, almost like having an orgasm, but not quite. And I felt this enormous serpent like explode up out of my root and up like in front of my body. And then it was like wrestling an alligator. That was the feeling of it. It was this enormous explosive force that was like my desire, but also this autonomous entity feeling to it. And it was like, whoa,
Cool.
this is the desire serpent. And it's literally a serpent, I'm like seeing it as a serpent. And it was this sense of, oh, this force will destroy everything in my life if I let it. If it just is untamed, it will wreck everything. And so it was like, oh, there's a good reason that people are scared of this energy, of why people want to repress it. Because when it goes untamed and it's not channeled through the heart, it can be a very, very destructive force. And so it's this task of cultivation of like, how do we open our desires, but then let it move up? And it's very physical, it's like this embodied thing of letting the energy move up through the chakras and then enter into the heart space. So then it's radiating as something that is beneficial for us and good.
I was waiting for Zach to respond to the wrestling an alligator comment.
A couple. I wanted to, especially if it's out in front of him. A couple things. One, define Kundalini. Because like I know Kundalini awakening is a term, but then also I want you to get into how does one channel and pull up their erotic energy into their heart space? Because yes, it can destroy your life. One of a great movie, Lars von Trier, Nymphomaniac. It's basically 4 hours about this exact thing. This is it's a meditation on how the erotic can destroy a life, if not pulled up into the heart space. So those two prompts, take them wherever.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Great questions. My experience of the Kundalini energy, and I hear people talking about it. I saw somebody on Instagram and they were like, oh, I wish I had hoped my Kundalini energy had risen up to my neck by this point. And I was like, you don't understand how it works. In my experience of it, there's like a wild primal energy that's in all of us. We have these animal bodies, and it's like our animal body has these vigor to it, these strong desires to really embrace the pleasure of eating and the pleasure of sex. And that energy is extremely explosive. And because it's been repressed in all of these different ways through cultural, societal taboos like Christianity and all the different versions of it that we do, the bringing it up at the beginning is a lot about letting whatever desires be present. and embracing especially the ones that you have shame about or that feel icky or uncomfortable. And it's like, oh, I'm having this like fantasy that's surfacing that I don't want to tell anybody about what the nature of it is, but can I be with it in myself? Can I accept that and let it move? There's a great example that this somatica practitioner I worked with used of this man who came to do the work who had this really strong sexual fantasy of being cannibalized, of like people eating his body. And immediate reaction, visceral reaction that I had, that most people had, is, wow, that's pretty disgusting, you know? But then hearing about his life story, he had, when he was very young, this skin condition that made these rotting lesions all over his body. And so his skin was disgusting and repulsive to his parents and the people around him. So there's this fantasy that emerges that is literally the balancing opposition to that. It's like, oh, my skin is disgusting. And so then the fantasy becomes, is my skin delicious to other people? So these things emerge in the imaginal space and in the fantasy realm. And it's like, to get past this, oh, is that good or bad, or is that acceptable? And just be like, no, this is just this material. It's this symbolic material that is there to help me embrace it, to then unlock something in the body. And it's all in the tissues. It's all about ungripping in the abdomen and in the hip complex and in the genitals. And then can I let the energy move through all of this and unlock whatever it's going to move in my mind and in my perception and in all of these feelings that come. And I found it's just a practice of, can we let the energy move naturally where it wants to go and be comfortable with allowing it to move and allowing whatever feelings surface to come through with that.
Where it wants to go in the body.
In the body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then not being like, because for a long time I was like, oh, I need something from Larissa to help me heal through things. And then getting to the point of, okay, can I actually have restraint in terms of trying to get that desire met by some external conditions? And can I just be with the feeling of it and like let it move internally while not trying to like reach outside to get something? Oh, can I just let it move like through my own physicality?
I would just add that I also experience Kundalini not just as desire, but aliveness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what literally makes you brighten? Where you feel unfettered joy, you know? So it's not always sexual. It can be dancing. It can be swimming in wild waters. It can be cooking and making really sensory, delicious food. And allowing oneself to feel, because, and this actually can segue really well to shadow. So much of this is because we are deeply conditioned to live disembodied existences in our minds. We are coded with the belief that human intellect is the most important aspect of our beings and is also the most professionally valued part of human beings. We do a lot of things to violate our bodies, to violate our knowing, and our knowing lives in our bodies, not in our mind. And so in repairing our relationship with our sensing and with our bodies, it's opening up to like, wow, what do I not like feeling? Like, what do I resist feeling? What I resist, because the aspects of what we start imagining about or what we start fantasizing, if you take it too into the mind, then you're literally just flexing your mind more. But it's like, no, but can we be with, because you start realizing how much of one's personality or how much of our behavioral patterns are actually just habituated responses to the wattage flowing through our beings. Anxiety is a response to wattage. Collapse or lack of motivation is a response to wattage. These are all like, oh, how do I deal with the current of life that's flowing through my being and realize I can create more space around it so that it's less unnerving. I can also realize I have sovereignty in choosing how to direct it. And then life just becomes so much more fun because we have more spaciousness in our embodiment. We're not trying to get things from other people. And and we value and can discern life-giving wattage from life-eliminating or life-dispersing wattage.
Yep.
Those
Yeah.
are the things I'll add.
Yeah. And I'll just say in closing to paint a picture of what this actually feels like in my own cultivation. It's like when I'm moving the energy, it's psychedelic on a level that I could not even believe was possible before this was all happening. The feeling of liquid light seeping up into my belly, and then I can feel my lower dantian, which is like the sexual chakra, the second chakra, expanded out as far as my hands go, this bubble of light, and I can see this lattice of geometric light moving through it. My heart is opening, and my whole spine feels like it's being grabbed with electricity, and there's electricity shooting all through my skin, and it's illuminating my whole inner vision with purple light. Like crazy as it's happening. I'm like, how is this even possible that my body is feeling like this? That's
Wow.
kind of the place that it can get to. Yeah.
Wow.
Was
wow.
that the DMT pen experience? I'm not
This
sure if
is
you realize
this is sober. I mean, but
Okay.
the psychedelics have helped
Yeah.
to like open the portal more. But now it can just click in with no substances.
Yeah.
I was curious what Google would say Kundalini meant,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's
Good.
telling me it says is coiled energy,
Like a
Yes.
snake. Yeah.
which, believed to reside at the base of the spine, which can be awakened through practices like Kundalini yoga. Awakening releases dormant energy, allowing it to travel up the chakras along the spine.
Mhm.
Is this what
Yeah.
is what we're here to do? Like, are we all supposed to awaken our Kundalini energy? Are we supposed to interrogate our shadows and transmute them? Like, what have your,
If you
lives
were to
and
speculate,
yeah,
do you
what
do you have
think?
these answers?
Yeah.
Can you tell us,
I
please?
know, I was like, Zach, you
Did-
can take that one first if you want.
Yeah.
Or we could, but
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about supposed to, but
Yeah.
it feels to me, it's like, wow, I've like unlocked something in my body. And it's like, this is a capacity. It's something Terrence McKenna said that I love, that he was like, this reality has levels to it. And there's like locks and doorways. And if you find the right keys, it can give way to something really unexpected. And this feels like a key. It's a key to a door into something that is now led to this place where I'm like, wow, the feeling quality of my life is just so radically different now. I just feel so much better, and I want everybody to feel like this and to just be deliberately crass and about the Kundalini energy. There can be this language around it that's very somber and meditative of, oh, we're going to rise the Kundalini energy.
Right.
And it's like, no, I want to be like fucked really good, and it's like, if we all just feel that, it's like, oh man, I'm just like, feel like I had such the most delicious orgasm. And I kind of feel like that as a baseline. It's like, well, then we can just like play and have such a good time. And like, I'm just motivated and energized and inspired for things on such a different level from that. And so like supposed to, I don't know, but there's some key here, definitely.
Yeah, I think the McKenna metaphor is good. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's also strangely like childlike energy too. I mean, it's a weird
Totally.
connection between those two things, but
Yes.
it like you're fucked into this place of just total
Childhood.
childlike
Yes,
behavior and mentality.
totally.
There's nothing else that matters or exists besides the moment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, great. Glad we could distill it down to that.
okay. And like, I agree. I would not use the word supposed to. I think it's an aspect
Yeah.
of existence.
Yeah.
I think it's a very powerful and beautiful aspect of our existence that is completely bound up in our own healing. That because we're in a reality where our free will is honored,
Yes.
we can
Right.
choose to go there or not.
Right. Right.
Um, you
Yeah.
can also, we can, like all of the other realms of power, you can go in and experience it from a place that is not fundamentally liberatory, that is deeply
Right.
shadowy.
Right.
Mhm.
And you can also go in and you can experience it from a place that is liberatory, that expands and networks to all of your other facets of power. And each person's journey there is unique.
Right.
And so while it's helpful to hear someone else's examples or someone else's stories,
Mhm.
it's like our
Mhm.
own longings and our own woundings, I believe, create the unique terrain that we'll encounter there. We were talking about this with a friend who's like, I think I've had a Kundalini awakening. What was yours like? And this is like the folly of human language. It's like
Right.
we're both pointing at, we think it's the same thing. I was like, I don't know. Here's how it showed up for me. How did it show up for you? And how did it show up for you? And how did it show up for you? Because there's a pattern, but we're also unique.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
very good reframe, and caught me in my own seeking with the use of the word should. Is it, like, is this what a person should do? Please, somebody tell me what I should
yes.
do, how to handle
Where's the
all of
instruction
this.
manual?
Yeah, right. Like, yeah. I think let's get into.
Yeah, let's talk about shadows. That's come up
Right.
now a couple times, even in our conversation here. Can one of you, whoever volunteers, help us define what a shadow is? Let's just set the stage. What is a shadow? And as far as how you guys have navigated shadows in your relationship
Or in life prior
or
to,
in life, how have they shown up?
maybe how does somebody identify a shadow? Like, I can't fix what I don't even know is there to fix, right?
Yeah.
So let's
Mhm.
come in at that level.
Yeah.
Can I actually answer first? And then you go.
Sure.
Because Larissa's really has much more of a, I say that because Larissa's like whole body of work is around power and
Yeah.
shadow power and transmuting that. And so I'm kind of like, oh, I want to give my little piece and then
Give
have
it my
you
shot first.
give a
Please
deeper
go ahead.
answer. Yeah. I kind of see it as we have like talking about the energy that we're capable of experiencing. I really believe that fundamentally it's our natural state of being is this radiant state of light. I had what I don't like using the term awakening, but I had a lightning bolt moment of realization in 2009. And it was this remembering of everything in existence is conscious and it's made of love. And this is the material that we're all made of. And it was this totalizing shift in my life when this happened to me. And there was also this sense of this is enlightenment and this is step one. I was at step 0 all before, and now I'm at step 1, and now there's an infinite journey ahead of me, like in front of this. But it was this sense of, our natural state of being is connected to the infinite source of all intelligence. That's like swimming in love. That's just a state of bliss. That's our original nature. And I feel like then we have these things happen to us where there's these layers of wounding and trauma that make us shut down to certain parts of our own energy. Because while our natural energy state is incredibly powerful, it's also incredibly vulnerable. It's very, very sensitive. And so it's like the heart field of a young child is incredibly radiant and it's incredibly sensitive to getting impacted by the environment.
Mhm.
And so we all get impacted in these different ways. And then we develop these defense mechanisms for how we don't want those parts to be touched. And then when some trigger happens, then it makes us have a behavior that's trying to hide or get around or not feel some aspect of it. And that's what I see shadows as. It's these unconscious mechanisms that we develop where it's painful, it's hiding or covering or protecting some sort of part of our pain body that we don't want to be touched.
Sure.
And I'm very curious to hear what Larissa says, but that
Awesome. I am not going to respond. I'm just going to put
You
in the
just do it.
baseline
Yeah.
of what I use in my body of work.
Yeah.
So my body of work is around a practice, a framework, a leadership skill set, martial art, a spiritual practice that I call power literacy. And so I'm going to give a couple definitions to get to shadow and how it comes to light. So first of all, I define power as the capacity to move energy through systems, which can already disorient or blow people away because we have a ton of baggage around what power itself is. But I've been talking about wattage the whole time through this conversation. And so that way it's very electrical in nature.
Yeah.
One of the things that surprised me as I went on my journey is power is a sensation, not an idea. So that's like what I've been pointing at through our conversation is where have we been guided by the wisdom of our sensations?
Right.
And it's not to say that the mind isn't important. Mental power is very useful in the ecology of power. But then from power is the capacity to move energy through systems, I believe we all conduct these two fundamental forms of power. And I describe them as power that serves the whole and shadow power. So shadow power originates from the illusion that we're separate and either better or worse than other people or other living beings. And for listeners, I just made my hands at different levels from each other to embody those two states. Because the fallacy that we often have as our understanding of power is that what I call shadow power over, we falsely believe that that's what power is, that dominating power, controlling power, extractive, oppressive, judgmental power is what power is. So for anyone who's heart-centered or spirit-led or cares about benefiting the greater good, they'll unconsciously choke off their own power or obstruct their own power for fear of becoming a power abuser, which is the other form of shadow power, which is power given away, which can be victimhood, martyrdom, implosion, stuckness. And so when you're asking about how do we tell these types of power, and I can talk more about power that serves the whole later, but the way we understand these forces moving through our being is there are reliable somatic indicators. So if you're in a conversation with a friend or with your partner or at work and you feel your energy body collapse, like you get really small, or you feel a hand around your throat, or you feel all of a sudden you just can't stand what's happening in the room and you have to take up all the space, or you can't even hear anyone else because you're just so enamored with your own thoughts. It's this too little or too bigness that happens are both shadow indicators. Stuckness, smallness, collapsing, really wavering like a winter leaf versus overbearing, super manic, taking up all the air, looking down on other people. Those are all forms that shadow power can take. And shadow power, what is useful for people to know that whether it's power over or power given away, our shadow power creates reliable outcomes. Our shadow power creates for both ourselves and other people confusion, blockage, disconnection, harm, othering, and at worst, violence. And so if we can see that, and if we know oh, this is breaking down what I'm trying to tend, this is not in my best interest. Shadow isn't something to be damned. It's something to be learned from. Something to say, oh, why are you there? Why do you exist? What do you have to teach me? And so it's not that we let our shadows drive the bus, but we see, where is this impulse coming from? What do you have to illuminate for me? And then we can alchemize our shadows into wisdom. So shadow isn't something to be banished. In relational design, in agreement structure, in partnership, when we were writing our marriage vows, for example, neither of us practices Christianity, and we didn't wish to adopt the until death do us part, not because we wish to be unfaithful, but because there's something about the design of that agreement that can give hall passes to the other person's shadow. And so one of the vows that we wrote, and one of the core cultural foundations of our partnership, as well as my business and how I am in my life, is we will love each other through our growth and have compassion for each other's shadows without giving a hall pass to each other's shadows, without letting our shadows become the organizing architecture of how we operate. So it's okay, if I have, and so I'll speak in the I, because that's always best to
I was
do when
gonna
you're
say,
dealing with shadows. You don't point at your partner. So for myself, I had a lot of anxiety arise after my fall and for my healing journey, because I would experience, excruciating pain. I had experienced great financial loss. And so I was constantly trying to find my embodied sense of stability. And so Michael would have compassion for my anxiety, but we would never allow my anxiety to start building architecture around here's what you have to do for me. When I go in this state, you have to be that way, or you have to make me feel better, or you've got the keys because you're making me anxious, as opposed to like, nope, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for that force that I'm conducting, and I can be loved in the process of taking responsibility for it. But I am the one who needs to ultimately understand it and transmute it in my own being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what about you, Michael? I mean, I think, what is your shadow? Is it primarily
If you're
manifested?
willing
If you're
to
willing,
get
because I
Totally.
feel like
personal.
this
we're
is
there.
important for somebody listening to help them identify what a shadow even sounds like.
Yes.
And then once we have them on the table, then we can talk. And first of all, Larissa, anxiety, big one here. We were
Yeah.
having a conversation like that yesterday. It's been a tough week for me, anxiety wise, and so I'm figuring out how to even. I'm at the first steps of dealing with this without drugs or alcohol. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure because it's like, well, that'll quiet it down. And my whole life, that's what I've done. It's like, oh, goes away, but then I can't do that anymore. Right. So I'm like a child trying to figure out how to deal with these big feelings. Right. And
Yeah.
so,
And like standing ovation for you recognizing that's not how you want to deal with your shadow anymore. Because there are all these layers of it because it's a loud energy. I used to have panic attacks probably through last year every time I traveled because getting caught on an airplane
fan.
when when a chronic pain bout would come on, like I've had countless times sitting on an airplane where I had to spend breath to breath holding my shit together because I'm in an 11 out of 10 of
Yeah.
pain and I don't have pain meds. We're nowhere near the ground. Me looking at a clock is not going to speed it up. And so I have to spend 6 hours just staying in my breath to be like, we're going to land at some point while I'm like silently crying. And so my body's like, we don't like doing that. I don't really like packing. I don't, and so I had this inner saboteur every time I traveled. And Michael would be so loving. It's like, I'm an adult who has experienced, all sorts of professional training and accolades and blah, 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 and gone to whatever universities. And I'm also an adult who's experienced a huge amount of trauma. And I would just like look at my suitcase sometimes and start crying. And Michael
Yeah.
would be like, that's okay.
Mm.
It's okay. I can help you pack, and I would just have so many times where I just like fall over, literally fall over on the ground into a ball, anticipating that flight. And so getting distance. So I'm putting my hand on my chest because it's almost like a second skin that I would identify with, like, this is how it's gonna go. And I had to start separating. Now I'm pulling my hand away from my chest. I had to separate from the anxiety to say, I see you and I understand why you're there. And also, if I identify with you, you will create a reality likely that I don't want. And so every time it would like hook into my lungs or make my heart race, I had to like, or tell the stories of like, oh, this isn't going to go well, or it's going to hurt, or because it has somatic indicators and inner narrative indicators. I just had to be like, there you are again. I see you. And my breath is the biggest tool for separating from my shadow. Instead of the shadow taking up the whole frame of my perspective, just like breathing and softening around it, as Michael is describing, like softening the muscles in the abdomen and the hip complex, softening this energy talons where it feels like, oh, this is it, to be like, no, you're not me. It gets to go differently.
I did that very thing last night, and it worked. It's the first time I'd really ever tried to do that. And within the last,
Congratulations.
thank you. Within the last
That is
even
huge.
couple months, flying, same thing. And as the day leading up to, it gets worse and worse and worse. Like I think I can do it, and then like the night before, it's like full on. This isn't great. To the point where it's like I was supposed to fly to New York for a work dinner and couldn't do it. Like it was an early 6 a.m. flight at like 4 a.m. and I was like, I just can't do it, and so I didn't. And so, yeah, resonating with that. Mine doesn't come from the physical trauma, more childhood emotional trauma of
Uh-huh.
lack of stability. My parents
Mhm.
divorced. So it was early. I saw lots of fighting, and so then it was just the world isn't safe. And so then now I'm like, I'm gonna die. And I'm afraid of, well, what's that feeling that I feel? Am I gonna have a stroke or a heart attack, or is Michelle gonna
Um,
die? It's just like, are things
mhm.
going to crumble? So like that's
Mhm.
why I don't like planes, because it's like I don't have control of this, and it's
Yeah.
like, it feels like I could die in here, and I can fly with Michelle because like we'll go we'll go down together. But like
What a
alone, I
constellation
can't.
prize.
I mean,
Okay.
I that's something I'm working on. So yeah, full identification with you and your shadow. I share the
Mm,
same. So
Thank you so
mm,
much for sharing
yeah,
that. And just
yeah.
very quickly before we go to Michael, I want to offer both for you, Zach, and everyone listening, that the the process of, it's like we get to have patience in facing our shadows and just being like, okay, I see you. And like, I see how you make me feel. And I don't like how you taste. And I don't like what you create in my life, but I can have compassion for myself. And then starting to realize, like, oh, what if it's not about planes? Or what if it's not about packing? Or what if what if I don't have to even feel you? And we start to get to be able to push it further and further away and choose a different vibration. And there gets to be a long arc of patience, but also focus in cultivating that. As someone who's been on a 14-year healing journey, like, I get the patience, um and having Michelle by your side, having Michael by my side, having the presence of love in my life is what gives me the fuel to be able to face those things with much more courage.
mm,
Yeah. And I'll say too that even just the awareness of it existing, consciously being able to sit with that awareness is such a big piece, because so many people taking that step is massive. It's
mm,
hard to even get there. Um, for me, it's shown up in different ways where, especially since becoming a parent, and maybe this can show up as a common dynamic, but I am a certain kind of parent, just I think, and who I am as a person, and Zach shows up as the type of parent that he is, and those two things look different. And I tend to have high expectations of myself, and then therefore for people around me, and I expect certain things to be done in a certain type of way, and I've had to take ownership of any emotions I feel about Zach maybe not doing things in a way that I want him to do things, or um, not showing up in the exact way that I want him to show up. And in the past, I think I react to a certain, like whether it be anxiety, it's probably not anxiety, but it's anger or frustration, or, he's not being a bad parent. Let's draw the line there. He's not being a bad parent. There's a line being drawn, but I've had to like accept that I'm feeling a certain way because of an expectation that was either conditioned through me from a young age, or over time, whatever it might be. This is an emotional, physical reaction that I'm experiencing that Zach is not necessarily responsible for, and he's doing a good job. Like, he's not doing a bad job, he's just doing it a different way, and that's okay. And I need to take responsibility for these emotions that I'm experiencing right now, because they're not a reflection of something that he's doing wrong. It's a reflection of my own triggers and traumas and conditioning. And I think it's a different type of shadow, but one that I'm continuously
mhm,
acknowledging. Like, I have to take responsibility for the
Uh-huh.
mhm,
emotions and the
Uh-huh.
ways that I'm reacting and to these emotions showing up, and not putting them on him as his responsibility.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
perfectionism too, like
Perfectionism,
which is
for
like
sure.
ostensibly something good. Like perfectionism isn't good. meeting a standard or doing something well is like ostensibly a good thing, but like it's interesting that that can be a shadow too. I'm going to grab the timestamps on that in case I ever need to use that again. But yeah, Michael, let's get your shadow on the table.
Yeah, okay, my turn.
Michael, Aaron, the baggage. Let's go. You're
Yeah,
up.
totally. I'll just say before I go into that real quickly, that really speaks to something of how every circumstance is different and how the same behavior in different circumstances could be a shadow in one instance and not in another.
Yeah.
And it's this difference between perfectionism and control versus having a healthy boundary. And where is that line? And that it is, and this is where it's like, it's all felt, it's a sensation that shows us what is true in each circumstance.
Right.
Yeah. And then on that too, is it's like, these patterns that we have you've all named, like, okay, we may have inherited something from our parents or other people that then are playing out as these shadows. But for them, it may have been very necessary, defense mechanisms for what they were experiencing at the time,
Right.
And so it's like, okay, understanding this perspective to be in the transmutation of it.
Right.
But for my shadows, to air out the laundry, I think we all have lots of shadows, but I think the one that kind of comes forward to voice most presently for me is this feeling of hopelessness that can come over me that, I've spent a lot of time in my adult life tracing back, because I've even had these moments like this spiritual awakening where I'm, just so flooded by this like memory of divine love. But then also this feeling, I can remember like the first thought that I had, the first conscious thought. I remember like the moment I was lying in my bed. I was probably like 8 years old. And I suddenly was like aware of like, oh, I'm conscious. Like and I didn't have that language then, but it was like, oh, I'm having a thought process. And I'm like aware that I'm having a thought process. And very quickly I went into like, okay, let's go to what I would now call first principles. And it's like straight to, what is this? Like, what is this reality that we're in, And then immediately after that, well, okay. And it was around the time that I started to comprehend life and death also. And I had this awareness of there's a key in a doorway where you can eject from this reality, and you could kill yourself. And I had this thought then that I was like, well, why would you not do that? It wasn't depressed. It was just this sort of, exploring like what the possibilities were. And I didn't have a good answer at the time. I was like, I don't know. Why would you not? And the only reason I can think of is to just experience and see what's possible here in this reality. And I think ever since then, there's been this thread in my life that's this part of me that's like, oh, I could eject at any time, And if this starts getting to a state where I don't want it to be, like I could just pull the trigger and leave,
Yeah.
And there's a way that energy has served me in certain ways because it's been this like, oh, I can just be this observer witnessing what's happening. And I'm like, I'm going to not play in this game that other people are playing when what's happening around me is something I don't like. But then it has also been this thing where it's like, I've kind of not had one foot not committed to this life because of that, And so it's been this huge process for me to get fully in the boat, and be like, okay, we're here. I'm 100% here and we're doing this. And that's played out in our life in moments where I've gotten really stagnated and having had a really hard time being motivated just to get up and do day-to-day things and to like get up and make money, and these blockages around that, that where it's like, okay, I've had this huge spiritual depth and all these experiences that are so profound. And then also I can just feel really inept in these basic mundane day-to-day things, which have at times put a huge tax on Larissa and put a strain in our relationship because then it's putting this burden on her to energetically lift both of us, and from the beginning when we had this first moment of really powerful connection, and it was like, we didn't even actually go fully into the story of it. But after this whole Qigong retreat, we had this moment where we met in a park under the ruse of doing a testimonial for this Qigong teacher.
Well, we actually did.
Which we really did.
Yeah.
And then we were sitting in this park together, and there was this moment where Larissa asked if we could hold hands, and we held hands, one on top, one on bottom, and like a current opened between us, a current of power opened between us. And it was like this portal opened. And for me, it was like time slowed down and the light started to all shimmer. And I was looking into her face, and there wasn't a specific past life memory surfacing, but it was just this deep remembering of, I know you so deeply. And we have been together so many times in so many different ways. And immediately, like straight away when that happened, my inner self was like, oh, if I say yes to this and lean in, this is going to grow the fuck out of me. This is going to ask me to step up in such a big way and get my shit together and get motivated and get real about life. And there was a little check-in moment that I had where I was like, am I ready for this? I was like, okay, yes, let's lean in and do it. And it's been really true. Like, and it's funny the way the shadows can intersect with each other in a way that's like a traumatic hook, but also holds the key for unlocking each other. Because it's like you voiced this all as a shadow, but it's like Larissa, that anxiety can also come out through her as this exuberant activating energy. And it's like that quality in her has kind of sparked me to get out of that stagnant stuckness. And so it's like this quality in her, which can sometimes show up as anxiety and fear, is also the same energy that has helped me get out of my stuck place through this fiery activation. And so, yeah, it's funny how these patterns kind of intersect with each other. And
It's so true. It's so true. And I don't know if you notice the parallels
Yeah,
between you and
100
Michael, but you guys are very
the
much
same.
the same.
You articulated like that was a
Yeah.
beautiful articulation of a feeling that has been with me the entire time of
Mm,
being the observer, having one foot in out
yes.
of life and in life, and going, yeah, I
Mm,
can pull this trigger anytime. There is an escape hatch here that had
yeah.
prevented me from getting in the boat fully, and like now
Yeah.
I just feel like, and
When
like,
you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like
and I'm
these
ready
are
to get
probably
into the boat right now for the first
Yeah.
Wow.
time, and like, and the same thing, like with her, with the
Wow.
thing, I was like, she's gonna make me. I'm gonna have to do this. Can you do it? You know, and then like but then the anxiety part of me goes, "Fuck, man, can you do it?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so-
but it's been great too because that same thing, Zach would say, I think what you just said, I probably fuel a little bit of that fire under you in that way. But then in the opposite, I've always been very expectations driven. There's an expectation that's been put on me, whether it be from my parents or society, or I tend to give people what it is that they want. I'm like assessing, what do you want from me? And I'm going to give that to you. And Zach is not that way. And in the beginning of our relationship, I was like, why can't you just give people what they want? It's easy. Just do that. But I realize now what I really need is to do what is right for me and to not care. And he has, like, the course of our relationship, he's taught me how to do that. And I think that we've both been able to unlock for each other what each of us needs in order to progress into whatever's next for us. So it's,
Wow.
it's amazing how it
Yeah.
all comes together in that way.
Totally.
So cool.
I have a piece bubbling from this
Yeah.
is like I'm hearing all the layers of like the initiatory nature of love. Meaning the ways love is constantly inviting us to initiate into our bigger selves, into our more courageous selves, into our wholeness, into doing the work, doing the healing, making the leap, saying the thing. And that's actually part of the gift of the shadow is so I've been a rites of passage guide since my late 20s, and what I have come to understand the shadow is almost like an aperture on our soul that's like only open so far and letting so much light into the lens, because otherwise if you just throw open that aperture, the picture gets blown out. The consciousness gets blown out. And so there's actually a great wisdom in the design of the shadow power, because the shadow power is the gatekeeper we will meet every single time. It is the one holding the boundary of our developmental edge. And every time we want to stretch or grow beyond what we've known or who we've been, we will always meet at least one shadow. And it's in that question, that you had, Zach, of like, oh, am I serious? Like, am I serious? Am I going to do it? That's always the invitation of the shadow. We just have to be like fractionally more courageous than the edge where it's not like we have to be mountains more courageous. It's like we just have to be a little bigger. We just have to stretch a little further and realize like, yes, I am standing for this. Yes, I am standing for our love. In partnership, certainly the learning of like how to tend each other's sovereignty, having zero orientation to, despite all the many times that I did in the past, the belief that we can like do it for each other or save another person. And it's like, no, I will champion you like no one else while you find the handhold.
Mhm.
Right.
Because like I can't make you stand up, you can't make me stand up. But if we love and we root and we're there, then it's actually easier than oftentimes doing it on our own if we can really truly be cheerleaders for each other.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And this speaks to something else around, my whole realm is storytelling, and a lot of Eternal Dragon. It's kind of the music theory of myth and stories. It's these fundamental principles of how that works, and it's very much like music in the sense that we all have a sense of what a good story is, in the same way that you can feel what a good song is. And the reason for that is when you hear a song that's good, it's good because it's somehow harmonically aligned with nature or with the principles of the universe. And the same as with stories. We can just feel when a story doesn't land. It's not true in the sense that it's resonating with what is actually real. And one of the principles of storytelling is stakes. The drama of a story, it's how much we're engaged of wanting to know what happens in a story, is the stakes, which are all relative. So if you see a movie like 300, is a great example because it's one of the most epic stories ever. And maybe this is just my opinion, I find it a boring movie because there's no stakes. Because like the character, the Greeks are like, they're not afraid at any point in the movie. They're just like badasses.
Uh-huh.
And so it's okay, it's this huge dramatic thing, but it's like there's no power bid here. There's nothing that's like stretching beyond like what they already are. Versus if you see a movie, like Toy Story is like such an all-time classic, and it's like the drama is a toy trying to grapple with like recognizing whether he's a toy or not.
Very
You
high
know?
stakes.
And
Very
it's like
high
in that
stakes.
context, those are the enormous stakes.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because in these moments in our lives, it's like what may seem like a little power bid, may be massive based on the inner landscape of what's going on in our own emotions. So just saying things like just this week, me being able to confidently say no to a client is a massive power bid for me based on the context of everything that I've experienced in my life.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that just felt like a important little bit to throw in.
Thank
Totally.
you.
I love
Mhm.
it. I love it.
Can
And
I
can
ask you two a
yes.
question?
Sure.
Let's
Are
hear
you
it.
ready? Are you
I
ready?
don't know.
No, you are. You have shared about your experience on MasterChef, obviously, in all sorts of ways on the podcast. And I am curious, through the lens of this conversation that we've been exploring, what did you learn about your partnership, and how did your partnership and your love grow through that experience? And the ways that it tested you.
Want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
I think first of all, like I'm writing to the MasterChef audition casting people, like, describe your dynamic. And I said that Michelle's like the creative one that's always pushing and moving forward, but I can execute. I have chops, and I think that that was confirmed. Yes, in the competition, but also in life. Michelle's able to timeline hop and move
Oh.
and just constantly go, and I will sometimes need to stay for a second. Like she said earlier in the discussion of like, sometimes I got to pull Zach along a little bit. It's never pulling. Like I always want to go. I just have to move in my own pace. She's
Yeah.
more of the manifester in this relationship, but I had come along for the ride, and I played an important role. And I had an Akashic reading with Catherine, and this came up. She didn't know this, but this came up for Catherine as well. Then we started to talk about it, and she's like, "Yeah, Michelle gets to have so much more fun in her role now because there's a stability and there's an anchor that is needed, and now she gets to just do that at the same time as feeling safe and connected. So that's a really spiritual, philosophical way to, like, Michelle's creative with dishes and I can execute them. But like that was one, and I think another was we hadn't had the experience of sole focus on something together really ever. It was hard to leave Murphy for 8 weeks, but we did. And even before Murphy was here, a couple miscarriages, trying to have a kid for like 2 years. We couldn't really focus on anything together besides having a kid. And we did way better than we thought we would. And it revealed to us our power when we can jointly pay attention on the same goal and focus on the same thing. And I think then it's, let's come back and start a company. Let's come back and it's like, wow, look what can happen when we do things together with full intent,
Yes.
Yeah.
So cool. And here we are.
Yeah. Here we are. Yeah.
It's like we always joke, like, we didn't need MasterChef to do this. It's not like many people are even coming over from that audience here anyway. The audience is being built separately. So it's like, could have just done this, but like, no, we needed that experience. It's like, who knew you needed to go on reality TV to like start moving towards your like, most authentic path in life. To become authentic, but like, that's how it worked out.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it was like the first thing you said, about being the stability. I mean, I've always been an ideas person, and Zach has always been an ideas person too. And that was a big part of our coming together and connecting. We had endless conversations of the could be's and what ifs, and we love to have those kinds of conversations. But as an individual, I think, and I don't want to sell myself short, and I don't want to sell Zach short in saying that we were incapable, as individuals. But I think that the way that we support each other now, it's just this unwavering, unconditional belief in one another that has fueled our individual confidence to go and do what we feel, passionate to do. And, to Zach's point, it was something that we did together. We put our collective energy into focusing on that one thing. And I think we both were very surprised where we ended up netting out in the competition. We had no expectation to go that far, let alone be there at all.
And you crushed.
Yeah.
And we did well. And I think we saw what we're capable of. I saw what he was capable of. I think he saw what I was capable of. I think through that realization, it was just like, what are we waiting for? Like, what have we been afraid of all this time? And it gave us the confidence to come into life after and say, let's just fucking go. Like, let's go. And I mean, as far as like partnership, what it's taught us about in partnership, I think it gave me confidence in us that we are I've always known that we were a powerful team, but it just like really solidified that.
I feel like it confirmed priors. Interestingly, as the competition went, when they would do some fuckery, like split us up, you're going to cook the first half and you're going to cook the second half and you're not going to get to talk about it. Situations like that, we would fall on our faces. If we were allowed to do something together, we always were near the top or at the top. It did well.
We're a big support for each other, I guess. I don't know.
But yeah, now trying to figure out how to work together, that's a different animal. What about you guys as you've done things together?
Working together and coming into business partnership together.
Yeah, totally. I just want to say one thing to what you just shared, which is it brings up something that I've contemplated a lot, which is the alchemical nature of desire. Especially once you commit to a spiritual journey, even if you're not calling it that, once you commit to like, I'm going to live my life to the fullest, I'm going to be here for what is the highest timeline of my possibility, an alchemical process starts. And the thing about that, and it's like cooking, goes through stages. There's these chemical stages that something goes through, and it has to go through the steps in the right sequence, and you can't skip steps. And you can't see what the end result is going to be from the ingredients that exist at the beginning. And so if something happens and you get a desire, like let's go on MasterChef, and that desire is fueling something, fueling you into a journey But then as that journey unfolds, the reason that you started it changes because you change. And then it morphs and shifts. And so just by following that thread of, sensing of this is the next step, and now you're making a podcast,
Right.
And I'm sure you could have never predicted. You could have never said at the beginning, we're going to go on MasterChef, and then that's going to open this whole world, and then we're going to be doing a podcast with disco balls
On
around it.
spirituality, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the end goal is a podcast about spirituality. So
Yeah.
step number 1, go on Master.
Yeah, just if you get the
Yeah.
back design, you're like, well, now we have to get cast. So
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
what's your
Mhm.
reply to her question about some of the things that have revealed for us in our partnership,
Hmm.
or revealed for you in our partnership through the process of working together?
Yeah.
And maybe a little, like, what do you do together? A bit
Yeah.
about that might help too.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's gone through a lot of layers of crossing and intersecting over the years. And it has been finding the balance because we both have our own body of work that has a lot of overlap, but is very different at the same time. And so just from our personal life and our work, meaning what are we each channeling as a contribution to this planet, we're constantly, in a dialogue in our life. And so Larissa is so deeply in the Eternal Dragon, and I am so deeply in the Wayfinding power work. So there's just this constant dialogue that we're around that.
And then on the
And-
earth plane,
And then on the earth plane, it's been a dance, because in the beginning, when we first got together, and also just to set the stage, like when we first got together, Larissa was doing immersion talks at top level tech companies in San Francisco. She was doing an 11-month org transformation at Johnson and Johnson. Like her career was doing this, and she had this beautiful apartment in San Francisco, and the company giving her a rental car. And I'm like homeless, living out of my truck. I was literally sleeping under a friend's dining room when we got together. And so we came in at this place where it was such an immense love connection, and in the earth plane, we were at very different places. And so in the beginning, a lot of our work together was me supporting Larissa through these first programs that was initially just making the video content for it, and then turned into me then helping facilitate these programs.
which
And-
I'm just going to interrupt on the video content for anyone who's never had to talk to camera,
Mhm.
record videos. It's disgusting. I'm not an actor. I also am very bad at memorizing, and the process of doing it is super energetically demanding. And this is
Totally.
also like 2020. This is pre everyone making videos
Sure.
from their phones like every second. This is before that moment in culture. And so in our collaboration around videos, Michael played a particular role where he was the one holding equanimity and coaching me into my capacity, which he did for many people. And then when I invited him to come co-guide my program, Alchemical Leadership at the time, then I was the one holding the center taproot and being like, I believe in you and
Mhm.
you can do this, when he was like, what are you
That's
even
what-
thinking?
Yeah.
And so that's been a
Mhm.
that's been a give and take across our work of us having very different gifts. Right now, for example, we're running a program called AI Summer Camp. That's our first true collaboration.
Mhm.
And Zach, when you were talking
And
about
just by when Larissa says true collaboration, meaning it's like content that we both worked on
Yeah.
separately and fused.
yeah,
Okay.
Where before all of the programs that we ran together was like Larissa's body of work that I'm supporting in the
Yeah.
that
facility.
Michael's like guest facilitating on.
Yeah.
So we
Sure.
created the content arc and the curriculum experience together. And Zach, when you're describing Michelle's like creative spark and she can envision something and she can manifest and you execute, what you're actually describing is a cultural shadow that we have that values visionary capacity, so breakthroughs over execution and follow through. That we're enamored with people who can see things, but then people who can see things and can't get it done can't manifest anything.
Mhm.
And so there's a rebalancing that needs to happen in our culture around taking like the visionary impulse off the pedestal and raising the value of people who can create.
Mhm.
to be like, oh, thanks for the vision. Now I know how to do it. That it's like, oh, these things are both part of the ecosystem, because there's this really deep gaslighting in our whole culture, our whole business culture around like visionaries good, everyone else peons. And that's just not true. That's one form of, that those are both forms of power that require each other. And so we've gotten to learn a lot about, so in terms of like speaking of shadows, I can speak about some of Michael's power that serves a whole that have grown me. Michael has this incredible capacity for both creativity and the visionary impulse and his what I call spirit power. That's where I locate that. And then his organizing power. Michael's capacity to design digital systems, our house in terms of feng shui, to create harmony and balance and order is probably the best of anyone I've ever met in my life, in a way it's not controlling and it's not tight-fisted. It's literally creating the space for energy to flow well. And at first I used to be very impatient with, he was like, that's over designed. We can't do that. You can't customize, and I'd be like, you're controlling me. And then I would be like, oh, thank you. That is actually much more effective. I am humbled. Please proceed with your gifts. So the course of working together has like buffed away a lot more of my shadow material in ways that wouldn't have illuminated so much if we were only partnering on our day-to-day life and our home life.
Right.
Because work brings up, there's a lot of overlapping skills, but it brings up some different skills.
Right.
And so I can say, precisely because we practice power literacy as a culture of like, we're deeply devoted to embodying our power that serves the whole and transmuting our shadows, because that's our baseline culture together. When Michael would come into work, he'd just be like, babe, your shadow, which like,
We both do.
which we both do, but
Take your shadow, please. I'm
which
gonna
is
say that more
also,
often.
it's loving and
That's your shadow.
No, that's your shadow.
which like, because we have that trust, then instead,
Which definitely happens, by the way.
yeah.
Clear.
Huge.
So we're like,
Huge.
your shadow, your shadow.
but also we metabolize it faster. So I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
and the
Right.
times when I have presence, I'm like, oh, you're right.
Right.
And instead of it being like, well, actually, this needs to be the marketing plan or that needs to be the system, which is considered best business practice, that like most business operations, you can have entire product launches built off of just a few people's shadows, or you can have, it's just like the trajectory that doesn't even get questioned because we don't have the language.
Right.
So it's been amazing to build these like congruence in our own beings, and then in our partnership, and then in how we work, of like not expecting perfection, but also constantly metabolizing shadow and the way we would unconsciously weave it into our systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just throw another thing in here. I'm really big into astrology too. And one of the things that I've been kind of contemplating more, just in general, when I look at charts, especially in the last year, is the moon node positions. And where the moon nodes show up, which for the people who don't know, it's like all the planets are in an ecliptic. So they're all on the same plane. But the moon's orbit is tilted from the rest of the ecliptic. So there's these 2 points where it's like 2 hula hoops meeting. And those points are called the moon nodes, and they really determine basically our past and our future. So you can think about it like past life, future life, but it's where the trajectory of your soul is going from one energy into another energy. And for me, it's in Virgo and Pisces. And every axis, every opposing sign in the zodiac are 2 sides of the same coin. They're opposites that are entangled with each other. And the Virgo Pisces axis is like, Virgo is Mother Teresa. It's a being of service in the world, and it's like detailed and nitty gritty and down in the earth, doing the steps. It's the bees making the honey and pollinating everything, versus Pisces is the monk in the cave by themselves, who's going deep and inward into the deep dream. And for me, what I've come to realize is that the eternal dragon is my Pisces energy. It's where my future is going into. And I had to open that and connect to my own work to then be able to show up and help Larissa with this Virgo energy. Because a lot of what I do in Wayfinding, in our work together in Larissa's business, it's this nitty gritty technical, like figure out computer systems, like linking like apps together, like that kind of work. And I feel happy and nourished doing that because I've opened this other doorway and I have that. And so because I have the eternal dragon, there's no push and pull which we experienced before, and which Larissa's experienced with other employees that she's hired, of other people coming in being kind of elbowing of like, oh, but this is my opinion and this is my idea that I want to interject. And that's been burned out of me because I've got my own thing that I'm cultivating. And so I can show up in this way, like in our dynamic here.
100%. That makes so much sense. And I think applicable just to partnership in general, of needing to have your own, identity, anchor, interests, things that inform how you show up, and will make you show up differently and to serve the partnership as a whole. And I gotta clarify in case Michelle is seething over there. I imagine she is. I don't want the listeners to think that Michelle is not an executor, only a visionary. Maybe, and I'm not just an executor. Maybe in the context of cooking, you want Michelle coming up with the idea for the green curry mussels and me like pounding out the paste. I think in the kitchen that's true, but in life I think we're a little more balanced. I just wanted to.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's not get down on the visionary here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Cut
down those visionaries.
No.
All right.
All this.
Yeah.
You guys, this has been amazing.
I feel like we could talk for literally another 2 hours. We haven't even gotten halfway through. But it's the way some of these conversations go, and it's how some of the best conversations go. So thank you. We did have some random, fun, newlywed-ish questions. If you guys are okay to answer some of those, do you
rapid fire?
I'm curious if you want to do this telepathy story that is happening right here
with our outfits.
So how did you experience telepathy right before this call?
Oh, yes, the shirts.
Right. So for everyone who's listening, I'm wearing a white shirt with black plaid stripes and black, like thin plaid stripes. And Michael is wearing a blue and white plaid shirt, which this is unplanned. But I am getting ready upstairs. And I hear him come upstairs and I pop out of the bathroom and I'm like, hey, babe, for what it's worth, here's what I'm wearing. And I see him wearing this shirt and we just bust out laughing because this is a ridiculously common thing where we will either we'll like show up to each other after getting dressed, ready to go out to something or go somewhere. And we are either wearing the same theme of thing or we're wearing like the inverse colors, like, black on top, white on the bottom, white on top, black on the bottom. And it's
hilarious.
It's a cosmic giggle in our relationship of our telepathic communication. And I asked Michael, I was like, did you put that on first or did you change into that? And he was like, no, I put this on first. And I was like, hilarious, because I put on a different shirt first. And then my body was like,
but Michael's wearing the plaid shirt.
Yeah. And that was all sight unseen. So
I feel like you do have to make a game of this moving forward. You both go to your rooms and be like, hey,
exactly. See, how we have not gotten scientific about it. We need to, bring in the clipboards.
Yeah.
I love
All right,
it.
let's put it to the test. How this is going to work. We're going to ask one of you a question about the other, or what they're thinking, or how they'd most likely respond. And the other one, in good faith, has to think of their own answer. And then
do you have a pen and paper?
We don't have to do that.
If you don't, that's fine.
Yeah, we will. We'll trust them, to be honest.
You do?
We'll play fair.
Yeah, just write. It's super easy. Just write it down.
We have a paper.
So I'm going to start by asking Michael questions.
There's 3 for each of you. We'll go quick.
So Larissa's going to write something down that, for yourself, and you're going to
guessing what she would say.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
All right. So Michael, what food is Larissa most likely craving right now?
Right now.
Let her write her answer before you influence her telepathically.
Right now. Oh, that's hard. I was going to say pasta. That's just my default guess, but I don't know if that's right.
Is he right?
No.
Salad.
Salad. Okay, yeah.
The opposite. All right. Next one, Michael. What one object would Larissa insist on including in your sacred relationship altar, which is funny because you guys mentioned an altar earlier in this conversation, and we had no idea that an altar would be brought
He's
up.
confused on the question. I see his face. So
Wait,
like,
I'm guessing for her again?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
Okay,
still guessing.
what is she saying?
What one object would Larissa insist on including in your sacred relationship altar?
we were
our
like, can we answer
sacred-
this ourselves? Oh, they have one, an object.
Mm,
But Larissa would insist on including in there.
wedding rings? No.
No, we wear those in our hands.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm bad at this.
you're great. You're great.
You're doing
Okay.
great. What's the
I'm
answer?
a bound rock.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, as I was thinking, I was like, I know there's a thing. Of
That's
course,
all right.
That would obviously be the thing.
That's
You're
all
under
right.
pressure. I get it. It's all good.
It's
Yeah.
all fun and games.
Yes. All right. Last one for you, Michael.
Yes.
In what category would you place Larissa's biggest, highest power? So I know, I think that you understand that question in relation to Larissa's work,
The
category
36
being
types of
Yeah.
power.
which of the
Which is
36?
your strongest?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is Larissa's, where would you put her biggest, highest power?
I gotta say, love power.
I'll take it.
Take it.
I'll take it.
But see, this is maybe where I'm telepathically right, but she might not
Sure.
Yeah,
uplift
her
herself.
shadow prevents her from accessing her love power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Amazing. All right. Well,
What'd you say?
we'll switch notebook.
Oh, she said inner power.
Well, I was
Inner
like
power.
between sensing power and inner power,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
Okay.
you're right. You're
We'll
right.
take
okay.
love.
All
Okay.
right, cool.
Okay. Now, Larissa,
Yes.
if Michael were a cult leader,
Mm.
what would the main rule be?
Oh, what about the main?
Break the rules.
You didn't give me a chance.
Yes.
I was channeling your rule.
I was violating the rules of the game.
Okay, sorry. I'll check with you first.
Wait, but now we can't do it because you said something.
No, I know. We'll go to the next one.
Okay,
Go to the
all
next
right.
one. Sorry.
we'll
I'll
say-
exercise restraint.
We'll say, do you feel like that would be maybe a rule at least, Michael?
That would definitely be a rule. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll give it to you, Larissa.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right. Larissa, in your next lifetime, what sign would Michael send to you so that you know it's him?
Oh. Tell me when you're done.
Mm. Mm. Okay.
Maybe this one's too easy.
Well, they haven't gotten any right. It's okay if one's easy.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, that's right.
Come on.
That's right. Take it back.
Yeah. Okay, right.
And it's even not that easy.
So yeah. He would ask to hold my hands the way we did in the meadow.
Yeah. That was better than what I wrote.
You're right.
What did you say?
I said geese.
Oh, you
Geese?
Geese. Yeah. Because
Like
geese
the
came and blessed us at our wedding during our ceremony.
Aw,
But
not
the
a
hand thing
puma?
is better. What?
Not a puma?
Not a puma. Yeah,
Oh.
there was no pumas live.
yeah, we
and
didn't.
ready.
We didn't alarm the guests.
Yeah.
No,
The hand thing
these
is
were
better
like
answer.
more socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Larissa, and we didn't get as much into Eternal Dragon, which I regret, but maybe in this, with the answer to this question, Larissa, what is Michael's favorite Eternal Dragon card? And Michael, you don't maybe need to explain why, Larissa, but Michael, write down yours and I'd like
And
to
tell
know
us why.
Yeah.
Okay.
You done?
Hmm?
Michael?
I'm done.
Yeah, the heart chakra card.
Bada boom.
Boom,
Got
boom.
it.
Nice.
That's more like newlywed question
Yeah.
than telepathy, for
Yeah.
sure.
right.
Alright,
And
so Michael-
the why I think just Michael has immense heart power and is also the card just feels good.
Mhm.
It's so powerful.
It's just one of my favorite images.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel, and it's like, I just feel like the heart is the center. You know, the heart is the center of everything.
Oh,
Aw.
what a wonderful way to end. The heart
Mm.
is the center of everything.
We got
and-
one right.
Yes. As good as that one.
It was.
Well, thank you guys so much. Again, I'm not even kidding. I feel like we could probably talk for another hour.
I want to thank you too.
Yeah, this is
like
so
having
fun.
been on so many podcasts, you are so fun. You're
Oh, thank
so
you.
great together. It was
Mhm.
also such a gift and rare because podcasts usually focus on individuals or focus on people's work or focus on ideas, that people rarely dive into the terrain of love together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
such a joy.
Really
Yes, a
special.
gift for
Yeah.
us too, to be able to, have this a very different conversation for us at this
Yeah.
point than we've
Yeah.
really ever had. And it's been fun to do that with another couple that are navigating some of the same things. And you guys are so great.
happy you've come into our lives through to
Yeah.
Likewise.
All right,
You
love
guys have a good rest of your
So good
day,
for
and
you.
we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Lots of love. Bye for now.